My life is unbelievably great right now.
Is that all right?
Oh, yeah.
No guilt?
Maybe some, but I've manifested unbelievable things in my life. And we've got 10 acres in the Sierra foothills, and my day usually is like, I have pets that love me. I've got one dog that gets me coffee and cookies in bed every morning. I say, Molly, go get Bonnie and tell her it's time for coffee. And she gets all excited and she runs out and Bonnie brings me coffee, and then we go out in the hot tub, and then maybe she goes down in the garden and I go out and feed the fish. And over the last 32 years of doing sculpture, I've managed to create something like $100 million or so in work. Now, I haven't been able to turn all of that into dollars, but that potential is all there. And I know that in listening to, I think it's one of your tapes on money, where you talk about all this stuff that's piling up on one side of the door, and all you have to do is like open the door and all this stuff can kind of come in.
And today we are saying, get in the receiving mode. In other words, you've been asking, the universe is yielding, it's all piled up outside your door, lock onto the signal, and it is yours now.
I'm just looking for if there's any particular guidance or advice to just help me open up that door a little bit more, because it's like it's right there, it's bulging out.
In what you've offered here, here's what we feel. In your physical, economic environment, there is this thing about earning and receiving. And is a sort of convoluted thing because you've been contributing to it over centuries. But there's this sort of basic belief about the struggle that is required in order to earn stuff or well-being or success. And, of course, there's discord in that because you are understanding that good cannot come through struggle. That's why most people are living such mediocre abundance. It is eking out in the proportion to what they are allowing it to be. But what we can feel with you is that as you describe your place and as you describe your lifestyle and as you describe the ease, and we can feel that you and many like you have been wanting greater ease, but we can feel a sort of guilt within you that you can't have it both ways. There's a part of you that believes that if you work hard that you deserve success, and that if you don't work hard that you don't deserve success, and you are trying to merge both worlds. In other words, you're trying to live with ease and grace and at the same time have enormous abundance that comes from it, and we can feel that there's sort of something stuck in your craw in there somewhere around that. You agree?
Absolutely.
And so we've been playing a game with Esther, and it has been helping her a great deal. And so we'll give it to you here in very pure, blatant terms. If you ask, and you are, and the universe is yielding, and it is, and you're not living it, then the only thing that could possibly be going wrong is that you're not letting it in. So you're wanting to catch yourself in the act of doing that.
I mean, I'm letting a lot in.
We are examining the ratio between your desire and what you're letting in. That's the only thing we ever talk about. We're not comparing you to what anybody else is doing. If we were, they would all tar and feather you and throw you out of the chair. By Earth standards, you've got way more than you deserve.
Yeah.
And so, but everything that we're talking about is the ratio between where you are and where you want to be. And so, speak your desire to us here.
I've got a sculpture that I would really like to do, that I'd like to, 100-foot bronze I'd like to see for the new Guggenheim in New York. We would really like to have a, one of these colossally gross mega yachts that I can spend time on in the Mediterranean. I want to go hot air ballooning over the Serengeti and watch herds of wildebeest running underneath me. I want to go to the Seychelles Islands off India. And, it's like, this stuff really turns me on. And
we want to go back to the gross yacht.
I knew it when I said it, yeah.
The reason that we pinpoint that just a little bit is because by whose standards is that opulence gross? What did you mean by that mixture of words?
I just meant that it's
over the top.
It's really over the top.
Really?
I know that there are companies that make these boats, and there are lots and lots of people that own the boats, And I would like to be one of them.
But can you feel the discord that we're talking about, where there's a part of you that joins most of the world in acknowledging the inappropriateness and the grossness of the over-the-top abundance, at the same time that you are wanting to embrace it?
Sure.
And so we're just answering your first question.
Yeah, I just want to get rid of that resistance.
Let's talk about the appropriateness of these yachts. Why would anyone think that they are not appropriate? What gripe or beef would anyone have with someone motoring around in a, what do they cost?
Oh, I think the one that I've been looking at is about $7 or $8 million.
So why would anyone have reason to feel negative emotion about someone motoring around in a yacht like that? What would their problem be? What do you think mass consciousness general attitude about that is?
Well, just I think that they would have to work for 300 years in order to earn enough money to do that.
It's out of my reach. It's out of my reach, and so I resent it being within someone else's reach.
Yeah.
What else?
Just jealousy. Maybe jealousy.
Maybe. What else?
The fact that they have to work incredibly hard for what they get, and that the person that has this yacht doesn't, and that somehow that there's an injustice in that.
What else? This person who is squandering this kind of wealth and utilizing it on this kind of inappropriateness or unnecessary stuff is depriving others of basic necessities of life. The reason that we are asking you to pinpoint or highlight or amplify some of the things that people commonly feel about things like that is because we now want to systematically put all of those to rest within you, so that when you talk about the yacht, you can talk about it in this pure form. Now, part of you may be wanting to be of both worlds. In other words, it might not be the popular thing to do to applaud that kind of opulence or wealth. But the thing that we're wanting everyone to understand is that there is no shortage of source energy, and that the person that is receiving that kind of abundance is not receiving it through the effort that they're offering, because if you are talking in terms of action or justifying good things coming through action, there is not enough action in the world to justify that. Right. It's always an energy thing. And so the person who's living very poorly or the person who's living very lavishly, it is always and only about energy. It has never been about action anyway, you see. And so when you make a comment, and we know you were making it because you're wanting to be a bridger, you are a bridger, you're a teacher in that way, you're wanting to bridge both worlds, but when you make a comment like the outrageous, inappropriate lavishness of something, you've got a mixed energy going on inside, and that's the thing that you were feeling when you made the decision to come here and ask the question to begin with. You're wanting to align yourself with your desires, or are you?
Yes, that's right there.
And so, what would your life be like? In other words, we've been talking about the feeling of worthiness and the way people respond to you. Do you think it would be possible to be in a position of extraordinary wealth where you were living it in ways that people could see it, and not at the same time be the target of criticism of others who had not yet found a way to be there?
Yes, I think that that's real possible.
How do you think you could endure that? In other words, do you think that you would then make an effort to sort of tune them out, that you would reach the place where you just no longer tried to understand where they are coming from, because you cannot understand where they're coming from at the same time that you're understanding where you are, and not have discord?
No, I think that it's possible for me to live that lavish lifestyle and not encounter the criticism. I mean, you asked me a question, and I think you misinterpreted the answer.
We're trying to stir some things up here, because one thing is certain, there is something that is stuck in your vibration, and the only way that you can get it unstuck is by chewing around until you feel the relief of it. And it may seem like we are nitpicking over a handful of words, but the reason that we chose those words to nitpick over is because they are representative of the greater vibration that we can feel within you. We just wanted to sort of get a feeling or a reading on your attitude about abundance and your placement within it.
I'm real good at receiving abundance in ways that don't necessarily deal directly with dollars.
Like the talent that flows through you in your sculpture.
Oh, that is so easy for me. I mean, I know that I can pick up any material and stuff just flows. I mean, I could be having the conversation with you here, and if I had wax or clay in my hands, I'd be working and I'd be creating, because that just flows like crazy. When I wanted a relationship, I've been with Bonnie for 18 years, and things just keep getting better and better and better. And I manifested that. I had nothing. I was living illegally in an industrial warehouse space when I met her. I had no bathroom, no phone, no kitchen, nothing. And I put an ad in the newspaper advertising for a wife, and I got exactly what I wanted. I mean, I put it down, what I was looking for. I got responses from all over the country, and it happened. It was incredible. But when it comes to large quantities of money, and that's all relative. I mean, I went out and saw a client a couple of days ago and sold $24,000 worth of stuff.
Interchange the words money, energy, money, creativity, money, clarity, money, well-being, money stream, money connection, money receiving mode. In other words, it's all the same thing. And the thing that we're wanting you to make the association of is then in the way that your talent flows through you because you are not resisting, dollars can flow through you when you're not resisting too. You need to think in terms of the money as something that you are allowing or resisting, not something that has anything to do with anything else, because it doesn't. If you realize that money is just a representation, it has a specific subject in your vocabulary, of course, but it is only a representation of the allowing of the energy to flow. We really enjoy talking to artists who work with a medium such as clay or whatever, because those who have discovered through trial and error how to get into the mode of letting it flow, they understand more easily than almost anyone else what it feels like to get into the flow of allowing the energy to flow in the form that you would call money or abundance. And so that's why we were pointing out to you something that seemed sort of like nitpicking. We think that what is happening to you is that because you have always been a student of people, you love people, you are interested in people, you care about people, you are an energy intuitive. Intuitor, yeah. You are. You have a sensitivity. We talked about that just now. A sensitivity that goes beyond what almost anybody you would meet would feel. And that sort of goes hand in hand with the stuff that's flowing through you in your art. But the way it can work against you is that when you are very sensitive to what others are thinking or what others are feeling, and you are someone who is also an uplifter, which means you're wanting to please, then you are, without even meaning to, contouring your thoughts so that it fits with what others are wanting. And out of it comes a word like calling the luxurious yacht gross. Not because you think that it is, but because you think that almost everybody else thinks that it is. And there is a part of you that still feels that you have to somehow justify that. Now there's a bigger part of you that would like to live it. In other words, there are people who would say, he's got all of that money and I cannot even stand to see the way he lives. It is just a horrible injustice in the way that he lives. And then someone would say, but if we were to give you his position and if you were to trade places, would you do it? In a heartbeat. And so what's happening, this discord is, I really want this thing that I don't think I should want. That's kind of the way it's coming out. And you can talk to us all day long about how all right you are with abundance. And we say, we can still feel that there is this little discord that is within you. It's within almost all of you. There is this undeserving quality that comes. Somehow you've been convinced along your physical trail that you must pay a price for the well-being that comes in the form of struggle. And so then you say, well, I'm going to defy that. I'm not going to struggle. I'm going to get a beautiful 10 acres and I'm going to get it up in the foothills of the Sierras, and we're not going to punch a time clock, and we're going to live life on our terms. And we say, but still stuck in your craw is this worthiness receiving thing that we are wanting to help you to release here as we chew.